is live.
All right, guys, we're going to get started here
Personal
shortly.
is live.
Thank you, Judah. I'll confirm the pages as I see them come up. J-Dubs. Yeah, you're right. We're live on the I Love CVille group. Take a look at the screen, guys, for today's headlines. YouTube just went live, J-Dubs.
LinkedIn as well.
I did? All right, fantastic. Good work. Judah Wickhauer's on point this morning. Excellent work. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. Like and share the show if you could do us the favor. We work hard for you. The only thing we ask in return is that you like and share the show. Did you ever watch Curious George growing up?
I remember the books. I don't think there was a cartoon when I was a kid.
Really? I've been watching a lot of Curious George. It was our oldest son's favorite show and our youngest son's favorite show. A couple of observations from Curious George. One I posted on my on the I Love CVille network over the weekend. Tough weekend for Charlottesville when it came to fatalities. I don't normally like to highlight storylines like fatalities. You know, the death and the despair and the you know, the morbidness is an easy storyline for old and traditional media to cover because they receive press releases from the local police.
Yeah.
So they're able to just regurgitate the press release.
Right.
So we try to do something different. The Water Street parking garage homicide was concerning, though. They're all concerning. The homicide in the Water Street parking garage had me a little shook. And I think there's a little more to that story than you know, that we should, you know, unpack on today's show. I want to talk on today's show cancel culture in Charlottesville. I hate to say this, but is cancel culture in Charlottesville, Judah, at an all-time high? There's a thread over the weekend on Reddit that got hundreds of comments with some instigators looking to cancel small business tied to who the business owner voted for.
Yeah. I mean, we saw the same thing in several recent elections. We should probably give it another name besides cancel culture, but whatever you want to call it, it's here to stay.
What do you think is you don't think cancel culture is the right? We'll talk about that, maybe what it's called.
I think it's too benign. I think that the type of actions that we're labeling cancel culture are, I hesitate to say dangerous, but these are not just people looking out for the safety of their friends and family. These are people that are actively trying to ruin and destroy lives, and I believe it could be taken too far.
Like and share the show. Like and share the show, guys. Viewers and listeners, we're about to rock and roll here on the Monday edition of the I Love CVille show. Judah Wickhauer, give us a snapshot on the data center headline.
Data's a big money now, and we have a lot of infrastructure in terms of these data centers being built in Virginia. In fact, Virginia has the highest square footage, the most data center building in anywhere in the U.S. And the news is reporting that that boost, that rise in data centers is going to double our energy consumption within the next 10 years.
We're going to talk about that on the Monday edition of the I Love CVille show. Virginia basketball gets pounded over the weekend. Currently, the Hoos are not in the ACC tournament as the bottom three teams do not make the ACC tourney. And ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow Ralph Sampson is in the studio on the Jerry and Jerry show at 10:15 a.m. Like and share the show. Viewers and listeners, let's rock and roll. When you're ready, Judah Wickhauer, let's do it.
Quiet on the set.
Good Monday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love CVille show. Great to be with you guys on what is a 50-degree day. We had a 50-degree day yesterday and one today, and it looks like for the next few days. So some of this ice that's getting pretty gnarly, pretty dirty, pretty, what'd you call it? Kind of scummy-looking ice should be melting, which I think is a positive outlook for all. We've had some blisteringly cold temperatures of late, and it does something, at least here in the Charlottesville area, as we're south of the Mason-Dixon line, it does something to the soul. But I had a little pep in my step this morning. Frankly speaking, I have pep in my step every day, a zest for life. But certainly on Mondays, my favorite day of the week. But getting this ice and this snow out of the mix is going to help, I think, a lot of people in this community just find that rejuvenation, that zest for life. A lot I want to cover on today's program, ladies and gentlemen. I want to talk about an unfortunate weekend for fatalities in the greater Charlottesville area. A plane crash in the Carsbrook area of Charlottesville left the pilot dead. A motorcycle rider, a motorcyclist dead by Albemarle Square, and a homicide in the Water Street parking garage over the weekend. In the, I don't know if you call it late at night or early in the morning, but nevertheless a homicide in downtown Charlottesville. A lot we're going to cover on today's program. The Water Street homicide, extremely concerning. All the deaths concerning, and our hearts go out to all those that are no longer with us. But a murder in downtown Charlottesville is something that I want to unpack on today's program. I want to talk on today's show a very difficult topic, a topic I was uncertain I even wanted to cover today, but we're going to cover nevertheless. And maybe the terminology cancel culture is not right. What is the preferred nomenclature or the most accurate description? This is the kind of the overarching theme of the topic. Is cancel culture at an all-time high in the Charlottesville area? I saw a disheartening thread on Reddit over the weekend that had, Judah, 500 or 600 comments tied to it. And it was basically a post centered around trying to cancel small business if folks thought that the small business owner voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I'm curious of your perspective on this. We'll get to it in a matter of moments. I'll give a snapshot of what the show's about today, J-Dubs. But it was to say it was disheartening is an understatement. Choosing to take a wrecking ball through a community that we live within and try to destroy the labor of love, the blood, sweat, and tears of small business owners and their team members because of ideology is a mindset that I'm having difficult time even comprehending. And I'm going to try to open my mind to this topic, to listen, to learn from you, the viewer and listener, and you, Judah, and even ask the question, is cancel culture the right phrase or nomenclature or description for this kind of behavior? I want to talk some business news. Cumbre Bakery, right off the downtown mall, is opening a second location in Dairy Market. Very soon to open Cumbre Bakery. It'll be their second spot. We did not get to this on the Friday show, but Cavalier Crossing down 5th Street Extended, purchased by a Northern Virginia real estate firm for tens of millions of dollars, is now rebranding as Attain on 5th. Such a strange name. Attain, like grabbing something, trying to get something, the word. Attain on 5th as they pursue the luxury rental market. We'll talk data centers as they are in a position to double energy usage in the Commonwealth. It's not all what it's cracked up to be with data centers. A lot of people are rolling out the red carpet for data centers. And Judah, you get us this a snapshot of the data centers. The Commonwealth of Virginia, one of the epicenters, if you may, of data centers in the entire world.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that on today's show and put it in perspective for you. Ralph Sampson is in studio tomorrow, the greatest basketball player in Virginia hoops history, 7'6". He'll be in studio at 10:15 a.m. tomorrow on the Jerry and Jerry Show. The first time he came on the Jerry and Jerry Show, which is a handful of months ago, After he finished spending time with Hootie Ratcliffe and I, the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer Jerry Ratcliffe and I, he walked out the front door of the I Love CVille studio. His very nice-looking Mercedes-Benz was parked in front of the studio. And as he was walking out of the studio and getting into his Mercedes-Benz, he legitimately stopped traffic. There was a car going on Market Street toward the police station and a car going in the other direction on Market Street away from the police station. And both drivers stopped in front of the studio, put their cars in park, left their cars running, opened their doors, and got out of their vehicles while they were running, while there were multiple cars behind them, simply to take a selfie with Ralph Sampson. It was a level of fame I have not seen in person and just like an everyday setting. This is not a famous person at like a basketball arena or a football stadium or walking the red carpet. This was legitimately Ralph Sampson getting in his car on Market Street in Charlottesville, and he has stopped traffic in both ways. So mark your calendar for Ralph Sampson on the Jerry and Jerry Show at 10:15 tomorrow. A lot we got to cover with Virginia basketball as they're currently in the cellar of the Atlantic Coast Conference. They're in the third from bottom position, and unfortunately the last three teams, and Virginia is now one of the last three teams in the regular season standings, they do not make the ACC tournament if you are one of the last three teams, ladies and gentlemen. A lot we're going to cover on today's program. Travis Hagworth, Patty O'Malley in New York watching the program. Patty's husband, Uncle Ed O'Malley, very pleased with Notre Dame's shellacking of the University of Virginia. Congrats to Uncle Ed O'Malley and frankly my sister-in-law and my brother. Both my brother and my sister-in-law are diehard Philadelphia Eagles fans. It pained me to see what happened to my beloved Commanders over the weekend. I mean, it frankly sucked as a sports fan this weekend. Virginia basketball, maybe my most favorite team of any, gets pounded by Notre Dame at the John Paul Jones Arena, a very terrible Notre Dame team. They get humiliated by the Fighting Irish. Congratulations, Uncle Ed. And then my third favorite team, my second favorite team is UVA football. My third favorite team, the Washington Commanders, get humiliated on national TV by the Birds, by the Eagles, and what was a painful game to watch. I guess such is life. As a Wahoo fan, but it has not been the case as a Redskin fan, as a Commander fan. Still a lot to be pleased about if you're a Jaden Daniels and Scary Terry McLaurin fan, Zach Ertz fan, Dan Quinn fan. A lot of upside in Washington. And how about if you woke up this weekend and you were former Redskin Commander owner Dan Snyder? Dan Snyder, immediately after selling the team, and his club is in the NFC Championship. Somewhere Dan Snyder is bitter and he's angry. Yes, he walked away with $6 billion, billion with a B, for selling his team. But that was his beloved business. Not just a business, but his passion project. And he could not make that happen during his awful tenure as owner in D.C. So much we're going to cover on the program. We'll welcome Judah Wickhauer on a two-shot. We'll get some love for Charlottesville Sanitary Supply ready here in a matter of moments. Before we do, Judah, Cumbre Bakery opening a second location in Dairy Market. Cavalier Crossing rebranding. Your headline on data centers. I don't think viewers and listeners truly realize the significance that the Commonwealth of Virginia is playing with data centers, not just in Virginia, but countrywide and beyond. Maybe put that in perspective for the viewers and listeners, the impact of data centers in this community, because I know that headline intrigued you, and it intrigued me after you explained it to me.
I mean, we've been hearing a lot about it lately, and this here is saying that this is just Northern Virginia. Northern Virginia houses more data centers than anywhere in the world.
Think about that, viewers and listeners.
That's just Northern Virginia. And the companies that are building them are going to build more. There's land, even though we don't have it in Charlottesville. There's definitely land in
Louisa County's going after data centers right now.
Yeah.
Amazon, $11 billion economic impact with Amazon, with what it's trying to do. In Louisa County.
Yeah. And it's growing unchecked, pretty much. I believe the I believe they've tried to rein in some of the growth, but have not seen a whole lot of success.
What's the downside of data centers? Because a lot of people would say this seems just like easy peasy taxpayer money for the municipality, limited strain on infrastructure, roads, and water. But you're saying, not so fast, my friend, in the words of Lee Corso.
Yeah, not so fast, my friend. Maybe limited in some areas of infrastructure, but when we start having, I'm not saying that this is actually going to happen, but with the energy usage that comes with these types of buildings, and it's not like they're going to have, it's not like they're going to be the centers of malls or meeting places or anything like that. We're just talking about structures that contain, warehouse, data. And the type of energy that the amount of energy that's going to be pulled by these things, I definitely think we need to stop and figure this out before it becomes a problem, because I see too often that that's not how it works. That we start working on something, we start building things, and it's not until we realize where we're going to have a problem that we start trying to figure out how to solve that problem, and by then the problem is already endemic.
A lot we're going to cover on today's show with that topic. Number one data epicenter in the world is Northern Virginia, ladies and gentlemen. And it's creeping towards Central Virginia with $11 billion of economic infusion with Amazon. Randy O'Neill in the I Love CVille group says the government employees are the number one cancel culture purveyors out there. Travis Hackworth in Danville, Virginia says the newest battlefield for and against data centers, it's Pittsylvania County, Virginia. Bill McChesney is watching the program. Logan Wells Clalo watching the program. A couple of states watching the show as we speak. I want to highlight on today's show Jason Howard, Sarah Hill Buchensky, Carly Wagner, Chad Wood, Jehu Martin, just to name a few. We'll give some love to Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, 60 consecutive years in business, Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. And one thing maybe what we could do, and the branding element we put on screen moving forward, you got that on screen now, is for future branding elements that we put on screen, do that before and after photo. The photo from the 70s with what it is now that the fella sent to us over the weekend. That would make a fantastic visual. John and Andrew Vermillion are just great people.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, John Vermillion, the best sideburns of the business. Andrew Vermillion, the third generation Charlottesville Sanitary Supply owner, online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com. Support the businesses you want to see make it, folks. I'll say it again, as Judah, Reed's just closed down. Reed's is now officially no more.
That's a shame.
It is an absolute shame. And now you're going to be left getting your pork chops, your T-bones, your steak, what they're known for, their meat department. Now where are you going to go? Costco? Where are you going to go? Wegmans? You're going to go to Whole Foods?
Not everybody has a Costco
membership. Yeah. You're losing the je ne sais quoi and the charm of what makes this community great when meat departments like Reed's close down, and they're officially finished.
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunate news as we rotate the first two lower thirds on screen. A pilot flying a small plane crashes in the Cardsbrook neighborhood.
Yeah.
One person on board, immediately dead on the scene. Our heart goes out to the family of the pilot as more information is released, as the family has been notified. Some reports indicate that the pilot found, upon crashing, the safest place to crash. I mean, imagine crashing a plane in a neighborhood, ladies and gentlemen, in a neighborhood. And fortunately, by the grace of God, this did not collide or crash into playgrounds or homes or a terribly densely populated area where others could die. It did crash into a densely populated area, but only one person died. By the grace of God there. In some ways, the courage of the pilot crashing in this way. Also terribly unfortunate motorcyclist perished by Albemarle Square.
Yeah.
In a vehicle accident, in a collision with a vehicle, with an automobile, with a car. I feel so old saying the word automobile. Not to take anything away from this story. It's a terrible story, and our hearts go out to that family. And the most concerning of them all, and they're all concerning, a homicide over the weekend in the Water Street parking garage. A 22-year-old is dead.
Yeah.
In an act of gun violence. The first homicide associated with gun violence in 2025. And it's terrible. It's Charlottesville area, 3 deaths of headline note.
Yeah.
In a 48-hour period, ladies and gentlemen. First, you kiss your loved ones, you hug your children, you check in on your friends, and you thank whichever higher power you believe in that here on a Monday and 50 degrees in January, we're above the mud. I did that. Suggestion, perhaps you do the same. I want to unpack the downtown homicide, details coming out. The chief has already indicated on the record, friend of the program, Mike Kochis, that there were significant witnesses who saw the homicide play out. And he's asking those that witnessed the homicide to please offer something for the police. Chief Kochis and his team have done an amazing job. I hope Chief Kochis hears this, of managing homicides and putting those that commit the homicides behind bars. And Chief Kochis and Commonwealth's attorneys Joe Plantania and Jim Hingley are offering grace and empathy with the law on a lot of circumstances, but when it comes to murder and gun violence, they do not. And Chief Kochis has said multiple times, we will pursue the law to its fullest extent if it's tied to gun violence. A natural segue for this homicide, and I pray for the families. My heart goes out to the families. Frankly speaking, it happened in a downtown shopping and dining and entertainment destination district that cannot afford these kind of stories. It cannot afford this. It cannot afford homicide in one of its 2 anchor parking garages while it's January and no one's coming down here, while there's a perceived homeless and houseless issue, while the sidewalks are still plagued with ice and snow, while we have credit card bills and everything else outstanding from Christmas. It is extremely important that this case be resolved and solved, and the announcement made to the community that the alleged killer is behind bars.
That's good.
And that hasn't happened yet.
No.
That has not happened yet. And it's extremely important that the community made aware of this in timely fashion. And I'm confident Chief Kochis and his team will do just that. But we have an 8-block, we have the heartbeat of our community, 8 blocks right now that are as vulnerable as I've ever seen them. With a handful of institutional businesses on these 8 blocks on the cusp of choosing to close or not in the very near future. And that's not my news to break. But it is my platform to prep you for. And then this. So, heart and prayers for the family, the hope for swift justice, and then the hope for a forgiving community as it supports an 8 blocks that needs your support more than ever. I sincerely mean that. The next headline, Judah Woodcower, is it the cancel culture headline?
Let's see. You've got
Put
is
it on-
cancel culture at an all-time high.
Put it on screen. I'll set the stage. I'll ask you the question, is cancel culture the right word? Viewers and listeners, I'll ask you if this the description cancel culture is the best description of what I'm about to tell you. On the social media platform Reddit, and we'll be very straightforward, Reddit is, of all the social media platforms, probably the most left-leaning, liberal-leaning of all the social media platforms that are out there. Maybe you make an argument now for Blue Sky, but Blue Sky is so small potatoes. James Watson, I'm going to get to your comments here in a matter of moments. Blue Sky is so small potatoes in the grand scheme of things that I'm not even putting it as one of the prominent players in social media. The prominent players in social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn. LinkedIn, from an ideology standpoint, it's even difficult to label it with an ideology. Of all of them, probably the most politically neutral of all those, LinkedIn. Twitter, I would say probably the most currently right now right-leaning, conservative-leaning of the social media platforms because of its owner, Elon Musk. Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, it just depends on who you follow. Left-leaning, right-leaning, it's just depending on the algorithm and the content you choose to engage with. The content you engage with is the content you'll see. But Reddit, of all of them, the major players, left-leaning. And over the weekend, it started on Friday, and it started to gain significant momentum on Friday into Saturday and Sunday. Someone posted the thread, Judah, or initiated the thread on Reddit, that we should create a list and dox the business owners who we think voted for Donald Trump. And then within that thread, the Redditors who engaged with it, and I'll catch flack for even talking about this on the show, was hesitant to even talk about it on the show. They said, all right, let's create this master list of who voted for Trump and do whatever we can as possible to go after them. Mm-hmm. What is that type of behavior called? Is that type of behavior called cancel culture? What is that behavior? What is the new term for that behavior? And then I'll follow it up with this question. Viewers and listeners and James and the viewers and listeners that are watching this program, like Kevin Yancey and Sumner McDaniel, and you know, Jeremy Hu, Scott Worth, help me understand, Kevin Sullivan, Scott Thorpe, Tom Powell, Katie Pearl, Kate Schartz, help me answer, Tom Stargell, Dave Warwick, just to name a few. Help me answer this question. Is this type of behavior at an all-time high in the greater Charlottesville area? I've been here 25 years in August, Judah. Viewers and listeners, 25 years in August for me. Came here as a first year at the University of Virginia. Grew up in this community. And I have not seen it like this ever before. So first I want to weave a man I respect his opinion tremendously, Judah Wickhauer, into the mix. I'll ask you these questions. You've been in this community nearly as long as I have. Is cancel culture the correct description or nomenclature? And have you ever seen it like this before? Anywhere you want to go, J-Dubs.
I've definitely never seen it like this before, but history does repeat itself, and this smacks of the blacklisting of supposed communists back in the 50s and back in the McCarthy era. And I mean, I don't know, it's cancel culture, but I feel like the name has become so ingrained in our minds, in our speech, that it's too benign. And whether we find a new, like, coined phrase to call it, or just call it what it is, which is hate, I would prefer that at least we acknowledge that this type of behavior is straight up hate. I mean, it's actually funny that funny and sad that in the Reddit post that you're referencing, he says at one point, this guy, whoever he is,
This is all done
Reddit-
anonymously, guys.
Yeah,
which is the worst of it all.
Reddit is anonymous. It's not always a bad thing, but in this case, one of this guy's statements are: if you voted for Trump, you voted for hatred. So apparently, if I don't like the way you vote, and I decide that that I should label it hatred, then I guess that that clears me and all of my friends to do whatever I can to ruin your life because I don't like the way you voted. I'm sorry, but if you're claiming that someone else is showing hatred by voting for someone, and you're gonna respond with actual hatred, that's just it's kind of terrifying. But ultimately, it's just disgusting, and I do not condone the behavior that I'm seeing in this Reddit thread.
Deep Throat is on deck, number one in the family, with his comments. I'm going to get to Deep Throat's comments here in a matter of moments. The really sad irony is this. Ready? The really sad irony is this. Almost pathetic irony. You're saying I'm going to cancel small business because of how they voted. Yet you're utilizing Reddit that is powered by Amazon Web Services. And Jeff Bezos is shoulder to shoulder with Donald Trump at the inauguration. You're saying you're going to cancel small business because of the newly minted second-term President Donald Trump. And you're doing it on Facebook when Mark Zuckerberg is shoulder to shoulder with Donald Trump at the inauguration. You're utilizing TikTok and saying, screw these people who voted for Trump. Yet you're using it on a platform, TikTok, that Donald Trump kept from being eviscerated and shut down completely. You're going on Instagram, stories, Instagram grid, or in comments, and you're trying to attack people based on their ideology. Yet the owner of Instagram is shoulder to shoulder with Trump at the inauguration. You're doing all this on your iPhone, trying to galvanize the community. Hate on this small business. F that small business. Screw that small business. Yet you're doing it on an Apple product where its CEO, Tim Cook, was shoulder to shoulder with Trump at the inauguration. It reeks of hypocrisy. Reeks of hypocrisy. You attack a little guy and a small business, yet you use Amazon to have your groceries delivered, and you spend a couple $100s a year as a member of Prime to get less than 2-day delivery. Bezos and Trump are homies. They're buddies. You get your hardware supplies, your hammers, your lumber, your fertilizer, your weed killer at Lowe's. Lowe's a huge supporter of Donald Trump. When you go about trying to assassinate the business models of locally owned businesses, the only folks that you will hurt are the people in your community, your family, your kids, and your friends, your neighbors. Because it's these small businesses that are driving the community investment, hiring locally, creating the tax revenue for the city that can get reinvested back into local schools, be reinvested back into sidewalks and bike lanes, be reinvested back into economic marketing campaigns for downtown Charlottesville, into the Charlottesville Police Department, into the fire department. Lowe's and these big box brands don't have that same commitment. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of the behavior that happened during COVID, where we started prioritizing in the pandemic convenience and instantaneous consumerism. During the pandemic, human behavior started changing, and we stopped going out of our way to spend a little bit more money locally in Charlottesville with a locally owned business because we wanted Charlottesville to be not like Main Street and every town in America. We wanted Charlottesville to be quirky and weird and charming and nostalgic. And for it to be quirky and weird and charming and welcoming and communal and nostalgic, we knew as a community that we had to spend a little bit more money to support our community, to go above and beyond. And sometime it happened during the pandemic, still collateral damage of COVID. We lost that sense of self. We lost that sense of community support. And we started going after instantaneous consumerism. Immediate gratification with our dollars. And that could have been Instacart, shopping at a grocery store and having it delivered to our car without getting out of the vehicle, or having the groceries just delivered to your front door. It could have been doing everything on Prime, ordering on Whole Foods, or going to the big box brands like Target and Lowe's and Walmart. The government prioritized Target and Lowe's and Walmart and the big box brands over our neighbors' businesses. And then once our neighbors' businesses were able to open during COVID, we continued that behavior to the demise of the locally owned business. And now it's gotten to a point where it's gotten incomprehensible. I can't even understand it. This is another byproduct of COVID. We as mankind, we as Central Virginians, Albemarle Countyans, and Charlottesvillians, Judah, we got out of human behavior and our habitual support of prioritizing local, and then prioritize instantaneous consumer gratification. And then as we became more consistent with our prioritization of instantaneous consumer gratification, we lost touch with the shop owners that relied on us for support. And as we lost touch with the small businesses that relied on us for support because we prioritized big box brands during COVID, now we're at a mindset where we're just going to be like, let's piss on these people. Let's ruin these people. Let's destroy these people. This is collateral damage from COVID. Collateral damage. We lost our sense of community in COVID. And now it's turned into a level of hatred and human behavior that I don't even recognize.
I don't think COVID's responsible for the hatred.
It's in part because of it. If we hadn't have had the pandemic, we would have had many more weeks and years of FaceTime with the people that they're trying to piss on right now. We went a year and change without supporting the little guy. 2 years without supporting the little guy. And we lost our human connection with the small business owner. And now it's gotten to the point where based on who you vote for, you're willing to destroy someone's life. Someone make it make sense for me. And I'll close with this as I search for the best description of it. Cancel culture, is that what it is? Is that what it is? And I'll close with this. The saddest part of all this is the hypocrisy in the effort. When you're utilizing the big box brands, the publicly traded infrastructure of some of Trump's biggest supporters. Bezos, Cook, Zuckerberg, Musk, to hate on the average Joe and average Sally business owner that is just struggling to keep their lights on and their employees with a paycheck. Ginny Hu on Twitter It reminds me of 2020 when local businesses who went mask optional were ostracized. Fantastic description. This reminds me of the behavior we started seeing in the pandemic. Some businesses said, you don't have to wear your mask during COVID, and those businesses were blacklisted or attempted. They attempted to blacklist them. Deep Throat, number one in the family. If you're talking about that Reddit thread, that is precisely cancel culture. But look, if you're a small business, you should probably just ignore Reddit. Deep Throat says mostly broke-ass losers posting on it. He says, I will say when I get out of town to Montana, I always feel I can breathe a lot freer while in Montana. Deep Throat says, on the trend in cancel culture, it still feels bad here, but elsewhere it is turning hard. Charlottesville is just a little behind the trend right now. And then he closes, when the thought leaders of the left realize they need to back off cancel culture because it's causing electoral disaster for their party, eventually the marching order will trickle down even to the little guys and activists here in Charlottesville. And he points to the Gillikin gang. Vanessa Parkhill and Gary Palmer, welcome to the show. Tom Powell says, Jerry, you're absolutely on point. Bill McChesney says, that's like 1950s Russian socialism, where you would rather rat out your neighbor.
Yeah.
Janice Boyce Trevelyan, we moved here 10 years ago thinking it would be, and make sure we're getting their photos on screen. We moved here 10 years ago. What's that?
I can't do them that fast.
Try. We moved here 10 years ago thinking it would be an open-minded university community. I've been overwhelmed at how closed-minded a community this is. I find the election cycle ebbs and flows. Everyone isn't going to be happy, but we should all be supportive of each other and the community. I want this community to succeed regardless of who you voted for. 100% how I feel. There's nothing more than I would rather have than a discussion with somebody that is not similar in mindset as me. I crave those discussions. I would love it more, frankly, from a colleague that I respect tremendously in Judah. I want the intellectual push and the intellectual challenge and the intellectual fight back. I crave it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it comes across as argumentative or aggressive, but it's just me yearning for the challenge. I need it. I would rather be challenged intellectually with a completely different mindset than sit around in a room filled with yes people. Like when I'm playing a sport, I would rather lose to somebody better than me than beat somebody worse than me. I want to be challenged. But when it's all said and done, if I lose to somebody better than me, I say, you kicked my ass. I can't wait to play you tomorrow. And if I'm in a conversation with somebody that completely disagrees with me and I'm pushed intellectually, I'll say, I agree to disagree with you, but God, I love the conversation today and I want to have it again tomorrow, maybe over some coffee or a bourbon or a everything bagel with sausage and cheddar from Bodo's. I don't understand what is happening here. And at Judah, it makes me sad. And it takes a lot for me to have that, to feel that.
It makes me scared. These people are actively rationalizing hatred into their lives and rationalizing that any action they take is I think some of them are rationalizing it's not only acceptable, but it's the responsible thing to do.
Yes, that is 100% right.
And that is terrifying. That kind of rationalization is the rationalization that the people that they the names that they call were responsible for over a century ago. Putting people into train cars because you've rationalized that they're whatever your rationalization is, whether they're subhuman, whether they voted for the wrong person, whether they whether they're the reason your kid didn't get into college. I mean, that kind of thinking absolutely terrifies me.
There are some that believe that it's not just, what was the phrase you said? That this type of behavior is their duty. What did you call it?
It's responsible.
Their response. There are some that believe that attacking someone who voted for a party that's different from, this is not about who we voted for, who Judah voted for, who I voted for. This is just about a conversation of where we are in America today. Mm-hmm. And some folks that say that if you voted for a party that's different than ours, it's our responsibility as an American to stand up for freedom. Last I checked, the freedom was having the ability to vote for different parties and to accept a win or a loss, and to move on as a country and to keep the country still heading in the right direction, forward. Effing crazy.
Yeah. It doesn't take much to go from where they're at now to deciding that that putting a brick through someone's shop window is acceptable because they don't like who they support, or keying their car, or I mean, how long does it take for these people to convince themselves that violence is perfectly acceptable as well?
Some food for thought. Vanessa Parkhill, thank you for watching the program. All right, Will Smith, thank you for watching the program. Next topic, what do you got?
Next up, we've got Cumbre.
Wahoo 89 in Tennessee is watching the program. He says there is a Meta data center here in Gallatin, Tennessee. It is an 800,000 square foot facility, yet only employs 100 people. He also highlights Red Hen Restaurant in Lexington, Virginia. I personally lost my employment due to my political views in 2021. It's called hate, he says, what you guys are talking about. Mm-hmm. John Blair, I think there's a difference in this and cancel culture. Cancel culture was about individual statements. If you made a public remark, people might try to cancel you. Recall the episode on West Main with the Italian restaurant about 10 years ago. This is different. This is about how one voted. First, voting is secret. Second, in every single election from the courthouse to the White House, people have dozens of different reasons for why they vote for someone. 100%. Many have voted for Trump based on school choice, others for taxes, others for deregulation. The same goes for Harris. People voted for her for dozens of reasons. Mm-hmm. Are we effectively saying that no matter the reason you voted for someone, if you voted for them, you're an evil person? Great comment.
Yeah, that is a great comment.
It's a fantastic comment by John Blair.
That's the problem, is that there is no there's no gray. There's no
code to this. There's no code. There's no. It's not black and white. Yeah. He highlights the West Main Italian restaurant that was Bella's, with who Douglas Muir, a client of ours. We were helping with this post comment. Yeah. He made a comment he will forever regret. A comment about the Black Lives Matter movement. He will forever regret the comment he made on Facebook, in the comment section of Facebook. Mm-hmm. And then following that comment, Dr. Wes Bellamy, one-time city councilor, had activists and protesters outside that Italian restaurant to try to cancel and close the restaurant. Yeah. And it led to, eventually, one of the reasons Bella's closing. People lost their job. Yeah. Lost their job. Mm-hmm. Cumbre, put that on screen if you can. Then we'll get to the data centers. Cumbre is a Argentinian bakery that opened in the old CVille barbershop, its first location, right off the downtown mall. Right?
Yeah, right around the corner.
Right around the corner from us. As the crow flies, probably what? A quarter of a mile from us. Yeah, maybe half a mile, if that. They're opening a second location in Dairy Market. Congratulations to these small business owners. I don't care who you voted for. Cumbre owners, you make great coffee and pastries, and I'll support you. I'll support you. I don't care who you voted for, Market Street Market owner, Dino's Wood-Fired Pizza owner, Citizen Burger Bar owner, Murray Bet owner, Cumbre owner, Bell owner, South Street owner. I don't care who your sign is that's in your yard. If you serve a product or you provide a service or you sell a good that offers value proposition to me, my wife, or our family, and you're local, we're going to support you. Doesn't matter as long as it's one of these things. A, it's local, number one. B, whatever we're buying or paying for offers us value, happiness, quality of life, tastes good. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's priced right. Maybe the service is quick in its turnaround. We'll support you. In 2019, before the pandemic, Judah, this is Trump's second term. Biden just served a 4-year term. Mm-hmm. Prior to Biden's 4-year term, Trump served 4 years. Right? That's how it works. Before COVID, when Trump won, there was not this level of hate. This is COVID collateral damage, this hate, where we became much more inclined to flex our muscles on a keyboard with anonymous internet handles than have a face-to-face conversation with human beings. Congratulations to the Cumbre owners who are soon to open their second location in Dairy Market. And prompts to Dairy Market and Chris Henry and his team as they populate what has been otherwise vacant stalls. Dino owns a large portion of these stalls. Really, anytime you go into Dairy Market, you should give a flying chest bump, a fist bump, and some props to Dino. Because that guy's moving mountains to keep that place up and running. Mm-hmm. How many did we say it was? 5? The Sizzle Shack, the Basta Pasta, the Wood-Fired Pizza, the Rotisserie Chicken, that's 4, the Move Through, that's 5. Mm-hmm. What, we got 5 over there with Dino? Deep throat. I doubt these people will even follow through. Screaming about Trump, supporting businesses. Just gives them a brief sense of power and control in the face of something that they don't like. The data center topic, is that next?
Let's see. Cavalier Crossing.
Okay. I didn't have a chance to get to this on Friday, and I should have. If you don't follow the I Love CVille show, we discussed for a period of time that a Northern Virginia real estate investment trust, a REIT, purchased Cavalier Crossing off of 5th Street Extended and Old Lynchburg Road. And Cavalier Crossing was one of the last affordable housing options for folks that were one step above houselessness, because Cavalier Crossing rented the rooms individually as opposed by an entire apartment. So you could spend $400 or $500 to rent a room for a month. You'd be grouped with strangers in your apartment suite, but you still had a bed and roof over your head and running water and a shower. All the rooms had bathrooms associated with them. So this out-of-market company spends tens of millions of dollars to purchase this, Judah. $20,500,000 in May of 2024 to be exact, according to the Albemarle GIS. And now they're in the process of rebranding Cavalier Crossing because they want to take it from $560 a month room to 4 times that.
Yeah.
4 times that, ladies and gentlemen. And they've come up with a name. I think it's a branding debacle. Attain on Fifth. Does it make sense to you, Attain on Fifth? I'm not trying to throw shade, but the Elysian in Stonefield is vacant. I can't even pronounce the name. Explain to me what Attain on Fifth, the new name, is.
Maybe they've got a really good logo idea.
It's just an odd name.
It is.
For a luxury apartment building.
Yeah.
And we broke this news a little bit ago. The Villas at Southern Ridge, a Henrico Richmond-based firm, has purchased a majority stake in the Villas at Southern Ridge. So here you have apartment complexes, condo complexes, right next to each other. The Villas is they call it a fractured complex. Some owned by individuals, some rented by the developer who try to convert them from apartments to condos. Here you have 2 of the last affordable housing affordability pockets in Albemarle County, Cavalier Crossing and the Villas at Southern Ridge, right next to each other, that have been purchased within 6 months of each other, and are going through a transformation from housing affordability to, I don't want to call it, I guess you could call it luxury apartment rental. Price point certainly is. And this is all happening while the Verve Charlottesville is trying to bring 1,300 bedrooms to market on Stadium Road, as Greystar is trying to build even more bedrooms, 500 and some apartments to market off Old Ivy Road, while second years are soon to be required to live on grounds by the University of Virginia. There's something that's got to give here. And what is it that's going to give? Is the population going to just increase that much that it's going to support all this multifamily and student housing that's going to come on market? And is the population going to increase that much at a level of wealth that folks are going to soon be charging $3,000 and $4,000 a month to rent a condo or an apartment? I'm one of the owners of a condo in the Villas at Southern Ridge. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We're getting $2,700 a month for this. And in this condo complex, we're on the low end because I price below market to maintain occupancy in all our holdings. $2,700 a month. 11 years ago, not even 11 years ago, 10 years ago, that $2,700 a month was $1,000 a month. 1,000.
Yeah.
Within 24 months, it'll be $3,000 a month, and it's going to be priced below market. It will have 3x'd in 15 years. The cost to rent something. 3x. Good Lord. Data centers in perspective for us as you put that lower third on screen. I'm going to read James Watson's comments on data centers, and then I would like to hear your thoughts on this. I used to partially live in Reston, and what I learned is that Herndon, Reston, Loudoun, and Sterling near Dulles Airport outfitted the area with underground fiber cabling about 30 years ago to prepare for higher demand. Now there's a lot of Silicon Valley IT corporations like Oracle and Google out there, in addition to many government sector operations and businesses. I'm thinking Louisa is going to get some of that type of business as well. Amazon, great comment from James Watson. He also says, I wonder if time and technology advancement will make the size and scale of data centers much smaller. What they build today may become obsolete. Then there will be massive vacant centers all over the place like malls 20 years ago. It's a great comment. It's a great comment. One item that intrigued me about the interview we did with the executive vice president of development of Subtex, that's the national real estate firm that's developing the Verve, the apartment complex on Stadium Road. Mm-hmm. That apartment complex is 729,000 square feet and more than 1,300 bedrooms. He highlighted in that interview that they had a land lease with the Canton Companies, a local organization that was somewhere between 90 and 100 years, the land lease. Mm. And he said in that interview, the actual infrastructure will not last longer than the land lease, meaning the integrity of the building, the structure itself, the shelf life of this 729 square foot apartment epicenter will not last longer than the land lease itself. That just blew my mind. Give us some facts on data centers. Start with the size of the data centers we have here in the Commonwealth in Northern Virginia.
I don't know that there's a specific size, but they have a great many points of issues with the growth that we've seen in Virginia, from power consumption to challenges with cooling, the environmental impact, scalability limitations, cybersecurity threats. I mean, if we're housing information, we have to be aware that there are people that are going to go after that information. So it's not just, it's not forever going to be just a matter of building another building that you can toss some servers into. It's going to turn into, how do we protect the infrastructure around these things, and as we stated earlier, how do we keep the power coming to these things? If Virginia doubles its power consumption, when do we become like Southern California or Texas with issues dealing with things like brownouts and rolling blackouts and other problems where there's just not enough infrastructure to reliably transport all that power and keep the rest of us happy as well.
One of the reasons I'm bringing this up, and Judah contributed this topic to the rundown, so thank you, Judah, is you got $11 billion, 11 with a B, coming from Amazon into Louisa County. 11 billion. Louisa County rolled out the red carpet for Amazon for this project. So data centers are not just prolific in Northern Virginia. They're here in Central Virginia, and they're knocking on the door of Albemarle and Charlottesville.
And they'll give you what you want in terms of cash money.
It's hard to say no to that kind of money.
Yeah.
It's hard to say no to that kind of perceived economic infusion, economic influence. But is it a shell game or a bait and switch game? Is it too good to be true with the actual economic influence? That's a really good question. We talk about the hotel industry all the time. We talk about tourism. Just under a $1 billion impact for the Charlottesville and Albemarle County economies, tourism. Just under $1 billion in economic impact. And then we realize that the jobs are created by tourism are the jobs where people are making 10, 12, 13, 14 bucks an hour. And they're the folks that are screaming at the top of their lungs, at the top of Carter's Mountain, we can't afford to live here. You're trapping us. You're giving us jobs. You're seducing us with jobs. And you're paying us a wage where we can't afford to live here, and we're on the brink of homelessness. And then you're taking away the $500 a month places that we can afford, like Cavalier Crossing, and turning them into $2,000 a month. The 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom condos at the villas at Southern Ridge that were $1,000 a month are now $2,700 a month. But the wages we're getting paid for working these jobs and the hugely perceived to be successful tourism industry, hugely impactful, have not kept up with what Jerry just described as a 3x uptick in housing.
Yeah.
I can assure you, when I first started renting the condo at the Villas for $1,000 a month, Judah Wickower, 10 years ago, that the wage the front office operator at the Omni Hotel was making was about $10 an hour, $11, $12 an hour. I can assure you that it has not 3x'd like the cost of that same unit. And people are like, oh, it's the greedy son of a bitch landlords. And that,
In some cases it is.
in that time, the HOA fee has 3x'd. In that time, the tax base is double-digit percentage increased. In that time, everything associated with maintaining the unit has double-digit increased. A landlord's not going to rent it for a loss because they won't be a landlord for long. And then Albemarle County says, we're going to roll out a 5.1% increase on everyone's real estate. We're going to assess the value and uptick at 5.1% on average in Albemarle County. That's Albemarle County and government giving you the one-finger salute. You know who it's really giving the one-finger salute to is housing affordability. All right, I'll get out of here on this note because it's 1:40 p.m. Ralph Sampson's in the house, literally and figuratively, tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. with the Jerry and Jerry Show. We're going to talk about this Virginia basketball team that just got beat the hell up by Notre Dame. Virginia is in the cellar, third from the bottom, literally almost in last place. And the bottom three teams do not make the ACC tournament. To say that this has been a disastrous campaign is an absolute understatement for interim head coach Ron Sanchez. And Deep Throat closes with a great statistic. By the way, those 1,300 plus bedrooms that the Verve are bringing to market, they are somewhere around 5 to 7% of the total rental bedrooms that exist in Charlottesville today. Unbelievable. God, that's a great statistic, Deep Throat. The 1,300 plus bedrooms that Subtext is bringing with the Verve on Stadium Road is 5 to 7% of the total rental bedrooms available in Charlottesville right now. That one project is adding 5 to 7% inventory. And it's happening at the same time that Gray Star on Old Ivy Road is adding even more student and multifamily inventory to the market. And it's happening at the exact same time that second years are going to be required to live in grounds on the University of Virginia. Something has got to break. Monday edition of the I Love CVille Show, 70 straight minutes. You don't get content like this anywhere else, period. For Judah Wickower, I'm Jerry Miller.